Welcome to Classic Game Room. Today I'm speaking with Adam Pratt, the owner of ArcadeHeroes.com and the Game Grid arcade in Utah. He owns his own arcade. You are the envy of everyone watching this show right now. Most of all me. Because I have an arcade, but I've only got like 4 games. And you have a much larger arcade. That makes you more of a man.
Well, I'd like to think so, but I've been in your spot too. I had to get started with just a couple of games that I put in my garage, and eventually got up to 4 and then 6, and then when I did this, I actually put almost none of them in here because they were not working, and so I brought them in slowly, but yeah, over time built up something that I like to think is a decent collection.
Well, how many video games and pinball machines are in the Game Grid arcade?
Right now, I say shamefully because I think of other places out there that have hundreds, but 24 video games and 2 pinball machines. Hopefully, by the end of the month, it'll increase to about 30 video games as I'm looking to expand during the summer.
And you are at the forefront of the resurgence of the arcade industry and the arcade community in the United States. And we're going to talk about that and your feelings on the arcade industry in the U.S. and what it's going to take to get it back to where it was in 1980. Do you think it's possible? Can we do it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously what happened then is I don't think you'll ever reproduce the exact conditions of what caused that, because video games at the time were pretty new, and you had that technological spectacle which is worn off because the whole idea of controlling an object on the screen isn't new to people. But arcades have plenty that they can do technology-wise that can draw people in and produce gaming experiences that are difficult to reproduce through other platforms.
And I would assume that the most obvious experience that's different is being in the same room with somebody playing on the same arcade machine, having that face-to-face personal interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, I like playing online games as much as anybody else, but if you've played on an arcade machine with a complete stranger and become kind of friends out of it, that's a much better experience than playing online. And it's, or what I like to call the show-off factor. When I was a teenager working at an arcade, us employees would always, during our break, go out and play a game, and we would try and compete amongst ourselves. And some of us got really good, and I in particular became pretty adept at Star Wars Trilogy Arcade and Crisis Zone, so that I could beat them on 1 credit. And this strange thing happened to me when I was doing that one of these times that I'd never seen before, because sitting at home by myself, you just don't get this, or even online, but crowds of people starting to gather around to watch me play. And I mean, I'm sitting there playing and I can see the reflection in the screen. Obviously, I don't turn around and anything and try and show off too much, but still there's that feeling of making it a public event is really cool. And I know it's the same thing when you have people like Billy Mitchell or Steve Wiebe reaching a new high score or something like that. It's fun to watch somebody play an arcade game when they're good at it because it's all skill-based.
Kind of like Kevin Flynn from Tron.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that exact same thing, that whole scene, which influenced me greatly. I mean, that's the whole thing that really got me into arcades in the first place. I mean, I loved games since I was 2, playing them on my Texas Instruments 99 4A and eventually Atari 2600. But coming across arcades and Tron, and when I saw that scene, literally when I was 8 years old, I came up with the idea of I want to own my own arcade and I want to be like Kevin Flynn, where I live in my arcade and make my own games. Obviously, it hasn't worked exactly like that. But
well, you haven't been sucked into an alternate digital reality.
Yeah, not yet. I'm still waiting for that to happen.
The day is young.
Right, yeah.
So you must love the movie The Last Starfighter.
Yep. Got that in HD.
That's a great movie. You can't watch that one enough. That's just something about The Last Starfighter and Tron. I'm right there with you. But what is the current state of arcade gaming in the United States? Because I've talked to some people about the scale and the scope and the size of it in Japan, where it seems much larger. It's a train-based culture over there, and obviously the U.S. is much bigger, more spread out, and people have to drive everywhere. But what's the state of arcade gaming here in the U.S.?
Well, I would say I would use the word evolved. It definitely has changed. When I think a lot of the time expectations are for it to be exactly like it was in the 80s, but it doesn't have to be exactly like that to still be a moneymaker or successful. One statistic I came across while I was doing research for my book is that there are over 100,000 locations in the United States that have arcade games in them. Now, not all those are classified as specific arcades. I think specific arcades, they were saying about 2,200 family entertainment centers like, I guess, Dave & Buster's and a lot of Chuck E. Cheese's are considered that, or about 1,800. But over 100,000 locations, what they call street locations, which really just any business with a waiting area that wants to put an arcade machine in there can be classified under that. And so you can find games in those places. It's just you don't think of a dentist's office as a place where you find arcade games so much. But there are plenty that can be found. In fact, there's an orthodontist here in Salt Lake which is getting some games in some pretty new high-end $18,000 games in here in the next few weeks, and so it's out there. It's just it's had to change a little bit. Obviously, people here love the ticket and prize aspect to it, and certainly I'd love to see video increase quite a bit in that regard. But there are still a lot of video games being made by several different companies. I'd say a couple dozen every year come out still.
What games do you have in your collection, and how do you try to draw people into your arcade in Utah?
Well, I came up with a mix of classic and new. Classics are good, but it's a little difficult if you want to make money and be a profitable business with them. The only way I can see you being profitable with a classic arcade, because there are some out there. One in Illinois called Galloping Ghost Arcade. They're trying to get as many as Fun Spot has, so they have over 350, I think, now. But you need numbers, quantity for classic games, because everybody's played these games for years and years and years. So I have some of those, but I also have several new games. Terminator Salvation, Pac-Man Battle Royale, Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade, Darius Burst Another Chronicle, Blazing Angels. So I try and keep a mix of new and old in there to try and draw attention across the spectrum.
Well, Terminator Salvation is from Raw Thrills, and I'm actually going to be reviewing a number of their games over the next few weeks. Of course, they're not too hard to acquire in the U.S., but how do you get something like the Darius Gaiden arcade game? That's a newer one, right?
Yeah, that one, I'd say it's unusual. What happened was in 2010, Taito announced that they were releasing a new Darius game, and it was just going to be in Japan. And there was pictures of lines around the block of people waiting to play the game at location test. And enough people here, and I drove what I could through Arcade Heroes, wrote to Taito and said, we would love to see this game overseas. And they were convinced enough that they brought the game over for testing in Europe and in the United States. And first off, they tested it out here in the U.S. At a movie theater in New Jersey, where it didn't do too well because they just threw it in there and left it as is. And if there were any issues which you're supposed to resolve and test, they didn't really do that. So after that they sent it to us for further location testing, where I gave them a lot of feedback and got feedback from players, and that was September of last year, and it's still in our possession. I'm still working out the final details of keeping it and fully purchasing it, but me and I think one other place in California has one currently, so very, very rare and very awesome.
To the envy of many.
Yes.
I'm sure. Do you have a Robotron 2084 machine?
Not at present, no. I have an Asteroids Deluxe, Crystal Castles. I have a Namco Classic collection that has the original Pac-Man, Dig Dug, and Rally X, as well as some new ones. NBA Jam, Ninja Turtles. some classics, but that's one of those things that I've been trying to get up on in the meantime is that exactly trying to get more classics, because I plan on getting a Zaxxon. I have a Zaxxon in my garage.
Well, let's talk about your website and your book, because you're the owner of a very popular arcade review website that covers arcade games, pinball machines, and also industry news called ArcadeHeroes.com, which is a great name, and it's a very nice site. I've read the site. Tell me about that, and also your book.
Yeah, Arcade Heroes, since it's been around since 2006. Did start out with various different writers, and I came on in about April 2007, and just started writing about any arcade news that I could come across, as did many of the others as well. But yeah, what we just strive to do is cover anything coin-op arcade news related, because a lot of the game sites, game magazines just haven't covered it for whatever reason. And there is news out there, and so since that time we've been covering that, and we break a lot of news when it comes to brand new games in the industry. We're often the only ones that cover that sort of news.
And what about your book?
The book, last year I was thinking I should take all this stuff that I write online and kind of focus it into something for a book, so that people can read about the arcade industry in general, as in the modern arcade experience. And so that's what I've been focusing on and off for about a year. I've been busy with so many other things, I haven't been able to complete it in the time that I wanted to. But what I do is I cover some history of the arcade industry, get into a little bit about the game crash, because I've read impressions before that after the game crash the arcade scene was done, but that's not true. And then get into current locations, the types of locations where you find games at. I cover the past 5 years of new arcade releases, and the social experience that you get out of the arcade experience, and using examples from different arcade players out there and the friendships that they've made. There's even people that have met at the arcade that end up getting married, and just all those aspects to it. And then the technological advantage that arcades have, how you can take technology that is not common or is very expensive for consumers to get, and put it into an arcade machine, allowing people to experience that technology and see how viable it is for from a gaming perspective.
And what's the title of the book, and when is this coming out?
Well, the title I have so far is The Arcade Experience. I haven't come up with the subtitle part yet. I know that's an important aspect of it, but I've been toying with different ones. But The Arcade Experience, I think, sums up the book itself. Yeah. And I had wanted to finish it for this month, but I've been doing some editorial passes and rewrites and whatnot, so I'm gunning for the end of August at this point.
Okay, so fans that want to know about the book should probably check out the website arcadeheroes.com. Yeah. Now, how do people get to your arcade? Where exactly are you located? How far are you from Pittsburgh?
Just a little distance. Might take a drive of
3 days,
several days. But
2 days is really fast.
Right. But if you ever fly into Salt Lake City, I'd say about maybe 10, 15 minutes from the international airport. Also from downtown Salt Lake City, roughly 10, 15 minutes. So we're in the center of West Valley City, which is the second largest city in the state with the most generic name possible. But we're kind of in the center of the valley area here.
And is this your full-time job, running an arcade and a website?
Pretty much. I also have done some part-time work with a sales job with a company called BMI Gaming that sells machines, and getting my feet wet in the arcade sales business, so I understand that better as well. So I've got my fingers in all sorts of arcade-related stuff these days.
All right, well, two more questions for you. First is, what can we do as fans of arcade games that grew up remembering arcade games now with the access to the internet? What can we do, and readers and viewers, to get arcades back into the mainstream and get kids and families out of the living rooms into the arcades, putting quarters, or at least, I guess they probably cost a lot more these days. They're all like $1, or at least dollars into the machines.
Right, right. Yeah, and I mean, at least with if you calculate inflation, it hasn't gone up too much. But yeah, it can be a little pricey sometimes when you have the arcade operator has a game that cost him $9,000. But I think overall it's spreading the word and going out and to locations by you and playing the games. And the best way to vote as far as the games goes is with your dollars. As the type of games that they're making right now, they're making because that's what's popular and what makes money. I lament often that it's mostly like gun games, racing games, and rhythm games, and that's about it. But there are, on occasion, some original games that come out, like that Darius Burst that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. It's a joystick game, but the cabinet itself is pretty amazing with the dual screen and the sound. But still, whenever there's something like that, getting support online, spreading the word, and finding places that support such games as well. I've come across a lot of people that often say, "Oh, there's nothing near me. I don't know how to find an arcade." But there are several sites online now that track arcade locations. One called arcade.com with a U between the A and the R, arcadefly.com, and GamerSpots. They all focus on helping you find locations, or even Google these days. You just type arcade into Google and it'll often pull up what's registered as far as an arcade business near you as well. Okay. So it's not too hard to find them. I would just say go out and support them. And if they're behind on keeping their games up to date and things of that nature, talk to the operator, talk to the owners, and get them to let them know that you're willing to support them, but they need to often, I guess, give a carrot to the players as well.
Well, I'm looking forward to playing Terminator Salvation and H2 Overdrive next week. But what's your favorite new arcade game these days?
New one, it would definitely have to be that Darius Burst. Although I know a lot of people won't be able to check that one out, but it's just absolutely amazing. I mean, it's very much like an old school shooter game, but they've put in thousands of levels and things to do in it, and the soundtrack's absolutely amazing. It's really an experience that you can find Darius Burst on the iPad. It's not exactly the same as the arcade version, though, of course, but that'd definitely be my top game, followed probably by Pac-Man Battle Royale, which is an excellent party type game.
Well, you know where to go, to Utah, West Valley City. Mm-hmm. West Valley City.
Yeah.
Well, they need to rename it Adam Prattville.
Right. Yeah, I'd be happy with that. Arcade Hero Land.
The Game Grid Arcade and ArcadeHeroes.com. Thank you very much, Adam. It was nice talking to you. And we all look forward to hearing about the book. And hopefully you can hang on to that Darius Burst machine.
Me too. I'm really, really hoping on that one. But
duct tape it to the ground and use some staples. Tell them you lost it. I don't know where it went.
It just disappeared one day. This guy with this blue police box showed up and wheeled it off.
With Billy Piper, hopefully.
Right. Yes, of course.
See you next time.